Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Stories by Heart. Today, I want to share a powerful story that might just change the way you look at success. It's a story about a young woman named Mira. Mira was like many of us. She had big dreams and a burning desire to become successful, skilled, and confident. She wanted to master her craft, build a great career, and feel proud of her accomplishments. But there was a problem. Every time she set out to achieve something big, she tried to do it all at once. She'd create these massive, ambitious plans, jump in with a burst of energy, and then very quickly, she'd feel completely overwhelmed. The sheer size of the task would paralyze her, and more often than not, she'd give up, feeling frustrated and defeated. It was a cycle of starting and stopping that left her feeling like she was going nowhere. One day, her mentor, a wise and observant person who had seen many people struggle with this exact problem, noticed her frustration. He saw the disappointment in her eyes and decided to offer a piece of advice that would change her life forever. He said to her gently, "Mira, success doesn't come from giant leaps. You don't have to conquer the mountain in a single day. True, lasting success comes from small, consistent steps taken every single day." Mira looked at him, confused. This went against everything she thought she knew about achievement. "Small steps?" she asked, her voice filled with doubt. "But how can tiny, insignificant actions really make a big difference? My goals are huge. How can something so small ever get me there?" The mentor just smiled warmly. He understood her skepticism. "Let me show you," he said. He handed her a simple, empty notebook. "This is where your journey begins. Don't think about the final destination for a moment. Instead, I want you to start by choosing just one small habit, one tiny action that moves you a little bit closer to your goal. Something so small it feels almost effortless. And then do it every day, without fail. The key isn't the size of the action, but the consistency. Over time, these small habits will build on each other, they will compound, and they will transform your life in ways you can't even imagine right now." Mira thought about this. It sounded too simple, almost too good to be true. But she was tired of her old way of doing things, the cycle of burnout and failure. She decided to give it a try. What did she have to lose? She sat down with her new notebook and decided to start simple, just as her mentor suggested. She didn't try to reinvent her entire life overnight. Instead, she wrote down just 3 small, manageable habits. First, she would read for 15 minutes every morning. Not a whole book, not even a whole chapter. Just 15 minutes. It was a small commitment, but it was a step toward gaining more knowledge in her field. Second, she would practice a specific skill related to her dream for 30 minutes every day. Not for hours until she was exhausted, but for a focused half hour. This would help her sharpen her abilities without feeling overwhelmed. And third, before going to bed, she would take 5 minutes to reflect on one thing she could improve from her day. Just one small thing. This wasn't about criticizing herself, but about fostering a mindset of continuous, gentle improvement. At first, it felt almost ridiculously small. Her mind kept telling her, "This isn't enough. You should be doing more. You're not working hard enough." She had to fight the urge to go back to her old ways of trying to do everything at once. But she remembered her mentor's words and held on to that one powerful idea: focus on consistency. Don't worry about the intensity, just show up every single day and complete those small tasks. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, the days turned into weeks. And Mira started to notice subtle changes. Those 15 minutes of reading each morning began to add up. She was learning new things, connecting ideas, and feeling more informed. Her knowledge was growing, little by little. Those 30 minutes of daily practice were also paying off. Her skills, which had felt stagnant for so long, started to improve. Movements became smoother, tasks became easier, and she found herself solving problems she couldn't before. Her confidence, which had been so fragile, began to grow. It wasn't a sudden burst of self-assurance, but a quiet, steady increase that came from seeing her own progress, no matter how small. She realized that these tiny habits, repeated day in and day out, were like laying bricks. Each one seemed insignificant on its own, but together they were building a strong and solid foundation, a foundation for the bigger achievements she had always dreamed of. Of course, there were days when she felt discouraged, days when she didn't feel like doing anything, when the old feelings of doubt crept back in. On those days, she would open her notebook, look at her simple list, and remind herself of the core principle. Small actions done consistently are far more powerful than huge efforts done occasionally. That mantra became her guide. It helped her push through the low moments and stick to her commitment. Months passed. One day, Mira took a moment to look back at where she started. She was astonished. She had accomplished more in those few months of small, consistent effort than she had in years of trying to take giant leaps. The skills she wanted were now a part of her. The confidence she craved now felt natural. Her dreams no longer seemed like distant, impossible fantasies. They felt achievable within her reach. Her friends and colleagues started to notice the change in her. They saw her new skills, her calm confidence, and her steady progress. They asked her, "Mira, how did you do it? How did you become so successful so quickly?" Mira just smiled, a genuine, knowing smile, and she shared the secret that her mentor had shared with her. "I didn't do everything at once," she explained. "I just started with a few small habits and made a promise to myself to repeat them every single day. That's the real secret. That's how small steps lead to big success." Mira's story is a beautiful reminder that you don't need to overhaul your entire life to make progress. You just need to start small, stay consistent, and trust the process. The power of compounding habits is one of the most incredible forces for change in our lives. So what's one small habit you can start today? If this story inspired you, please consider subscribing to Stories by Heart. We share motivational stories like this one every week to help you learn English, grow wiser, and stay inspired on your own journey to success. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.